The dishwasher was leaking again. At midnight on a Tuesday, because of course it was. I'm hunched under the kitchen sink with a wrench that's older than my marriage, listening to Elena pace upstairs while talking on her phone. Her voice carries through the old house like smoke through a screen door. 6 days wasn't enough, babe. He's just a shell of a man now. I freeze. The wrench slips from my fingers and clangs against the pipe. Elena's voice drops to a whisper, but I can still make out the words that slice through me like broken glass. I know. But Derek, you have to understand. Living with him is like being married to a ghost. He doesn't even notice when I'm gone anymore. Derek, I know that name. Derek Morrison, the real estate hotshot with the Tesla and the Instagram account full of motivational quotes. The guy who sold us this house 5 years ago, with promises about building your dream life in America's heartland. Some dream, some life. My name is Jack Sullivan, and until 30 seconds ago, I thought I had a marriage worth saving. I'm 45, work in IT consulting, and apparently I'm blind as a bat when it comes to reading the woman I've shared a bed with for 22 years. The front door slams. Lucy's home from whatever party she snuck off to. At 17, she's got Elena's dark hair and my stubborn streak, which makes for interesting dinner conversations. Tonight, she stomps up the stairs like she's trying to wake the dead. Where have you been? Elena's voice carries down the hallway, sharp and accusatory. She must have ended her call with Derek. Out, Lucy fires back. God, Mom, I'm almost 18. Can you maybe trust me for like 5 minutes? If eye rolls were currency, Lucy would own Amazon. The kid's got attitude to spare, but she's smart. Smarter than her old man, apparently, since she probably figured out what was going on before I did. I crawl out from under the sink and sit on the kitchen floor, back against the cabinets. The house settles around me with creaks and sighs, like it's tired of holding up this facade. 22 years of marriage, 2 kids, a mortgage that'll outlive us all, and my wife is planning her escape with some smooth-talking real estate prince. The irony isn't lost on me. Derek sold us this house, our forever home, as Elena called it back when she still pretended to love me. Now it feels more like a mausoleum, full of dead dreams and broken promises. I hear Elena's footsteps on the stairs. She appears in the kitchen doorway, phone still in her hand, looking guilty as sin but trying to play it cool. Jack, what are you doing on the floor? Dishwasher's busted, I say, not looking at her. Like everything else around here. She crosses her arms. Even at 43, Elena's still beautiful in that sharp, professional way that photographs well for her marketing firm's website. Tonight, she's wearing the black dress I bought her for Christmas, the one she said was too fancy for dinner with me. I'm going to bed, she announces, like she's doing me a favor. Good talk, I mutter. She pauses at the doorway. Jack, are you okay? You seem different lately. Different? That's rich. I'm the same guy I've always been. Loyal, hardworking, boring as wheat toast. She's the one who's different. She's the one with secrets and late-night phone calls and mysterious work trips that don't seem to involve much work. I'm fine, Elena. Just tired. She nods and disappears upstairs. I hear the bedroom door close, followed by the sound of her shower running, washing off the evidence, probably. I pull out my phone and do something I never thought I'd do. I start investigating my own wife. Her social media accounts are locked down tight, but Derek's Instagram is public. The guy's got 40,000 followers who apparently can't get enough of his hustle and grind philosophy. 3 photos down, I find what I'm looking for. A picture from last week, Derek at some fancy restaurant downtown, raising a glass of wine. The caption reads, "Celebrating new beginnings with someone special." In the background, barely visible but unmistakably there, is Elena's reflection in the window. My hands are shaking as I screenshot the image. 22 years of marriage, and this is how I find out it's over. Through Instagram, like some teenager stalking their ex. The shower stops running upstairs. I close the phone and sit in the dark kitchen, listening to my wife get ready for bed. Tomorrow, she'll probably kiss me goodbye before heading off to work. She'll tell me she loves me, maybe even mean it in whatever twisted way she's rationalized this mess. But tonight, everything changes. Tonight, I start planning my own new beginning. And Derek Morrison has no idea what's coming for him. Elena left for her work retreat on Thursday morning with a suitcase that looked suspiciously packed for romance rather than conference rooms. She kissed my cheek at the door, a perfunctory peck that felt like a business transaction. I'll call you tonight, She lied with the ease of someone who'd had plenty of practice. Sure, I replied, already planning how I'd spend my newfound freedom. The house felt different with her gone. Lighter somehow, like a weight had been lifted from the foundation. Lucy was at school, Max was back at college, and for the first time in months, I could breathe without feeling like I was suffocating on someone else's secrets. I started in our bedroom. Elena's always been meticulous about hiding things, but 22 years of marriage teaches you where someone keeps their important stuff. The jewelry box yielded nothing but costume pieces and old earrings. Her dresser drawers were organized with military precision, everything folded and sorted by color.
There's it's Penny's hat in the maid.
It was the closet that gave her away. Hidden behind a stack of old photo albums, I found a shoebox that definitely wasn't there for storage. Inside, hotel receipts from places she'd never mentioned visiting, restaurant bills for two at establishments I couldn't afford, and a conference badge for the marketing summit she was supposedly attending this week.
Sending Nunain Gunain. Oh.
The badge was still in its plastic wrapper, unused. My hands trembled as I pulled out my phone and called the hotel listed on her itinerary. The desk clerk was helpful and professional when I explained that I needed to reach my wife, Elena Sullivan, who was attending the marketing conference. I'm sorry, sir, but we don't have any conferences scheduled this week, and I don't show a reservation under that name. Enarg, I thanked her and hung up, staring at the evidence spread across our bed. Elena wasn't at a work retreat. She was somewhere else entirely, with someone who wasn't her husband. The Uber receipts told the story. Rides to Derek's condo building. Rides to expensive restaurants. Rides to places I'd never heard of but could easily look up online. Each receipt was a breadcrumb leading me deeper into the maze of my wife's deception. I photographed everything, methodically documenting each piece of evidence like I was building a legal case. Which, I realized, I probably was. My phone buzzed. A text from Elena. Conference is going great. Miss you. I stared at the message for a long moment, then typed back, miss you too. Learn lots. The lies came so easily to both of us now. We'd become experts at pretending everything was fine, while our marriage rotted from the inside out. That evening, I drove to Derek's building. It's one of those new luxury developments downtown, all glass and steel and pretentious architecture. The kind of place that screams, I make more money than you, to everyone within a 5-mile radius. His Tesla was in the parking garage, gleaming under the fluorescent lights like a monument to his success. I parked across the street and waited, feeling like a private investigator in some noir movie. The only thing missing was the cigarette and the fedora. At 7:30, Elena appeared on Derek's balcony. She was wearing a red dress I'd never seen before, laughing at something he'd said. Derek joined her, sliding his arms around her waist in a gesture so intimate it made my stomach turn. They looked happy, relaxed, like a real couple. I sat in my car for 2 hours, watching my wife live a life that didn't include me. They ordered takeout. They danced to music I couldn't hear. They kissed like teenagers who'd just discovered what their lips were for. When I finally drove home, the house felt like a tomb. I poured myself 3 fingers of bourbon and sat at the kitchen table, staring at the evidence I'd collected. The receipts, the photos, the unused conference badge. It all added up to one inescapable conclusion. My marriage was over. Had been over for months, probably. I'd just been too stupid or too stubborn to see it. But Elena had made one crucial mistake. She'd assumed I'd never find out. She'd assumed I'd keep playing the role of the oblivious husband while she played house with her real estate prince. She was wrong. I opened my laptop and started typing. If Elena wanted to play games, I'd show her what a real player looked like. I'd spent 22 years being the good guy, the reliable husband, the man who never made waves. Time to make some waves. The email to Derek was short and sweet. Enjoying your time with my wife? We should talk. I hit send before I could change my mind. Then I poured another bourbon and waited for the fireworks to begin. Derek called at 11:30 that night, his voice tight with panic and poorly concealed anger. Who is this? What do you want? Jack Sullivan, I said calmly, settling back in my kitchen chair. Elena's husband. You know, the guy whose wife you've been screwing for the past 6 months.
So?
Silence stretched between us like a taut wire. I could practically hear his brain working, trying to figure out how much I knew and how much trouble he was in.
Look, man, I don't know what you think is going on.
I think you're having an affair with my wife while she tells me she's at work conferences, I interrupted. I think you bought her that red dress she was wearing tonight on your balcony, and I think you're about to find out what happens when you mess with the wrong family. More silence. Then, what do you want? I want you to understand something, Derek. You sold me this house 5 years ago, shook my hand, took my money, promised me I was buying into the American dream. Now you're trying to steal my wife. That seems like a conflict of interest, don't you think? Jack, listen. No, you listen. Alina's coming home tomorrow. She's going to tell me all about her wonderful work retreat, and I'm going to smile and nod like the good little husband she thinks I am. But you and I both know the truth now, don't we? I hung up before he could respond. Alina returned Friday evening with a suitcase full of dirty clothes and a head full of lies. She kissed me at the door, the same perfunctory peck as before, and launched into an elaborate story about team-building exercises and networking opportunities. Sounds productive, I said, taking her suitcase. Did you learn anything useful? Oh, you know how these things are. Lots of corporate buzzwords and motivational speakers, but the connections are valuable. I'll bet they are, I thought. We had dinner together like a normal couple. Alina talked about her work, asked about my projects, even laughed at one of my stupid jokes. If I hadn't seen her on Derek's balcony, I might have believed we were okay. She was that good at pretending, but I'd learned a few things about pretending myself. After dinner, I excused myself to my home office and opened my laptop. The evidence was all there, organized in neat digital folders. Photos, receipts, hotel records, even a few screenshots from Derek's Instagram that showed Elena's reflection or her jewelry in the background. I'd spent the day doing research, and what I'd found was illuminating. Elena wasn't just having an affair with Derek. She was having affairs, plural. Derek was just the most recent addition to her collection. There was Marcus, the architect from her firm's downtown office. Brad, the photographer who'd done her LinkedIn headshots. Even Tom, the bartender from that trendy place she claimed to go to with her girlfriends. My wife wasn't just cheating on me. She was running a one-woman dating service, collecting men like trophies while I paid the mortgage and kept the home fires burning. The discovery should have devastated me. Instead, it filled me with a cold, calculating rage that surprised me with its intensity. Elena had made me into a fool, but she'd also underestimated me. She thought I was weak, passive, someone who'd accept whatever scraps of affection she threw my way. She was about to learn how wrong she was. I printed out everything. Photos, receipts, a timeline of her activities, even a map showing all the locations she'd visited with her various boyfriends. Then I put it all in a manila envelope and wrote her name on the front in block letters. Saturday morning, Elena was in the shower when I placed the envelope on her pillow. Then I went downstairs and made coffee, waiting for the explosion. It came 20 minutes later. Jack! Her voice echoed through the house like a gunshot. Jack! I took my time walking upstairs. Elena was standing in the bedroom doorway, clutching the envelope like it might bite her. She was still in her bathrobe, hair dripping wet, face pale as winter. What is this? She whispered. It's the truth, I said simply. Something we haven't had much of around here lately. She opened the envelope with shaking hands and started flipping through the contents. I watched her face change as she realized how much I knew, how carefully I'd documented her betrayal. Jack, I can explain. Can you? Because I'd love to hear how you explain Derek and Marcus and Brad and Tom. That's quite a busy social calendar for someone who's supposedly working late every night. Elena sank onto the bed, the papers scattered around her like evidence at a crime scene. When she looked up at me, there were tears in her eyes, but I felt nothing. Whatever sympathy I might have had for her had died the moment I saw her laughing on Derek's balcony. I never meant for this to happen, she said. Which part? The lying, the cheating, or the getting caught? All of it, none of it. Jack, you have to understand, I understand perfectly. You're bored with our marriage, so you decided to shop around for something better. The only thing I don't understand is why you didn't just ask for a divorce, instead of turning me into a laughingstock. Elena's tears were flowing freely now, but they felt like performance art. Everything about her felt calculated, rehearsed, designed to manipulate me into forgiveness. I do love you, Jack. I know it doesn't look that way, but you love Derek more, and Marcus, and Brad? Elena, you've got more boyfriends than a teenage girl. At what point exactly was I supposed to figure into this equation? She had no answer for that. How could she? There was no answer that would make any of this okay. What do you want me to say? She asked finally. I want you to say goodbye. Pack your things and get out of my house. Jack, please. We can work through this. We can go to counseling. We can get divorced. That's what we can do. You've made your choice, Elena. Now you get to live with it. I walked out of the bedroom and left her there with her tears and her lies and her carefully documented betrayals. The house felt different now, cleaner somehow, like I'd finally opened the windows and let the stale air escape. Elena left that afternoon with 2 suitcases and a promise that this wasn't over. I watched her drive away and felt something I hadn't experienced in months, relief. But I wasn't done, not even close. Elena had spent months making me look like a fool. Now it was my turn to return the favor. Elena moved in with her sister temporarily, or so she told the kids. What she didn't tell them was that she was actually splitting her time between Derek's condo and a hotel downtown, depending on which boyfriend was available to foot the bill. I know this because I'd gotten very good at surveillance over the past week. Turns out, when you spend 20 years in IT, you pick up some useful skills for tracking people's digital footprints. Loken, Lucy was furious with me, of course. At 17, she saw the world in black and white, and in her version of events, I was the villain who'd driven her mother away. She made this clear during our first dinner alone together. This is all your fault, she announced, stabbing her salad with enough force to crack the plate. Mom wouldn't have left if you'd been a better husband. Is that what she told you? She didn't have to tell me anything. I have eyes, Dad. You two have been miserable for months. You never talk. You never go anywhere together. You act like strangers living in the same house. She wasn't wrong about that last part, but she didn't know about Derek or Marcus or the others. Elena had painted herself as the victim of a loveless marriage, not the architect of its destruction. Lucy, there are things about your mother that you don't know. I don't want to hear it, she cut me off. You're just trying to make yourself feel better about breaking up our family. I let it go. Lucy would figure out the truth eventually. Elena wasn't good enough at lying to fool everyone forever. Max called that weekend from college. Unlike his sister, he'd inherited my cynical streak and wasn't buying Elena's victim act. So Mom's really gone? He asked. For now, yeah. Good. That house was like a morgue with both of you pretending everything was fine. At least now you can stop acting. Smart kid. Too smart for his own good sometimes. Your mother and I are getting divorced, Max. I want you to hear it from me before you hear it from someone else. I figured. Are you okay? The question caught me off guard. When was the last time someone had asked me that? When was the last time I'd even asked myself? I'm working on it, I said honestly. Good. You deserve better than whatever was going on between you two. After I hung up, I sat in my empty house and realized Max was right. I did deserve better. I deserved a wife who didn't treat our marriage like a part-time job. I deserved honesty, loyalty, respect, all the things Elena had stopped giving me months ago. But more than that, I deserved revenge. I started with Derek. A few phone calls to his real estate office revealed some interesting information about his business practices. Turns out, Mr. Motivational Instagram was cutting corners on property inspections and inflating appraisal values to boost his commissions. I made some calls to the state licensing board. Anonymous tips, of course. Just a concerned citizen reporting possible violations of real estate regulations. Marcus was next. The architect had been padding his hours on city contracts, billing for work that was never completed. A quick email to the municipal auditor's office, complete with documentation I'd found through some creative internet searching, took care of that problem. Brad, the photographer, was cheating on his taxes by not reporting cash payments from clients. The IRS loves getting tips about tax evasion, especially when they come with detailed records and supporting evidence. Tom, the bartender, was the easiest. He'd been selling liquor after hours and skimming cash from the register. One phone call to the State Liquor Control Board, and his bar was facing a surprise inspection. Within 2 weeks, Elena's entire support network was crumbling. Derek was under investigation. Marcus was suspended from his city contracts. Brad was being audited, and Tom had lost his job. Elena called me on a Thursday night, her voice shaking with rage. What did you do, Jack? I don't know what you're talking about. Derek's license is being reviewed. Marcus got fired. Brad's being audited by the IRS. This isn't a coincidence. Sounds like your boyfriends have been making some poor life choices, I said calmly. Maybe you should be more careful about the company you keep. You bastard. You're destroying innocent people's lives. Innocent. I laughed. Elena, these men were sleeping with a married woman. They knew you had a husband and kids, and they didn't care. That doesn't sound very innocent to me. Jack, please, call off whatever you're doing. These men don't deserve. What? They don't deserve consequences for their actions? They don't deserve to face the same kind of pain and humiliation you put me through? Silence on the other end of the line. You want to know what's really funny, Elena? I didn't even have to lie about any of them. Derek really was cutting corners. Marcus really was stealing from the city. Brad really was cheating on his taxes. All I did was point the right people in the right direction. Your boyfriends destroyed themselves. You're sick, she whispered. No, I'm thorough. There's a difference. I hung up and poured myself a drink. Outside, it was starting to snow, the first real snowfall of the winter. The house felt warm and peaceful, like it had when we first moved in all those years ago. My phone buzzed with a text from Lucy. Mom says you're trying to ruin her life. Is that true? I stared at the message for a long time before typing back. I'm trying to save mine. She didn't respond. That was okay. Lucy would understand eventually. They all would. Alina had spent months systematically dismantling our marriage while I stood by and watched. Now it was her turn to watch while I dismantled everything she'd built to replace it. And I was just getting started. The final blow came 3 weeks later, and it wasn't something I'd planned. Sometimes the universe has a sense of justice all its own. Elena had been staying at Derek's condo since her sister kicked her out for bringing drama into her home. Apparently, having your house guest's husband systematically destroy her boyfriend's career creates tension in a household. Who knew? Derek's real estate license had been suspended pending investigation, which meant no income and a very expensive lifestyle to maintain. The Tesla got repossessed on a Tuesday. The condo went into foreclosure on Friday. Elena called me that weekend, and for the first time since this whole mess started, she sounded genuinely desperate. Jack, I need help. With what? Derek lost his condo. We don't have anywhere to go. That sounds like a you problem, not a we problem. Please. I know you hate me, but I'm still the mother of your children. I can't be homeless. I could have hung up, should have hung up. But something in her voice made me pause. This wasn't the manipulative Elena the first had been dealing with for months. This was someone who'd finally realized that actions have consequences. Where are you now? A motel on Route 9. Jack, it's horrible. There are drug dealers in the parking lot and the sheets haven't been changed in God knows how long. Route 9. I knew the place she was talking about. It was the kind of establishment that rented rooms by the hour and didn't ask questions about why you needed them. What happened to Marcus and Brad? Surely one of your other boyfriends could help you out. They're gone, Jack. All of them. Marcus moved back to Chicago after he lost his job. Brad's wife found out about us during the audit. She threw him out, and he's living with his mother. Tom won't even return my calls, so when the money dried up, they all disappeared. Shocking. Don't. Please don't. I know I deserve this, but I can't take your sarcasm right now. She was crying. Real tears this time. Not the performance art she'd given me in our bedroom. Elena had finally hit bottom, and it was a long way down. What do you want from me, Elena? I want to come home. This isn't your home anymore. You made that clear when you moved in with Derek. Jack, please. I made a mistake. A lot of mistakes. But we're still married. We still have kids together. Doesn't that count for something? It should have. 22 years of marriage, 2 kids, a lifetime of shared memories. It should have been enough to make me forgive her. But every time I closed my eyes, I saw her laughing on Derek's balcony. I heard her voice on the phone. He's just a shell of a man now. You're right, Elena. We do have kids together. That's why I'm going to make you an offer. What kind of offer? I'll pay for a decent apartment for 6 months. Something clean and safe where you can get back on your feet. But I want a divorce, and I want it finalized before the 6 months are up. Silence stretched between us like a chasm. And if I say no, then you stay in that motel and figure out your own solution. Your choice. She was quiet for so long I thought she'd hung up. When she finally spoke, her voice was barely a whisper. Okay. Okay, what? Okay, I'll take the apartment and the divorce. I felt something inside me break loose. Not my heart, but something harder and more brittle. The last piece of whatever love I'd had for Elena cracked and fell away, leaving behind something cleaner and simpler, indifference. I'll have my lawyer draw up the papers, I said. You can pick up the apartment keys from his office on Monday. Jack, can I ask you something? What? Do you hate me? I considered the question seriously. Did I hate her? Hate seemed too strong, too passionate. Hate implied she still mattered to me in some fundamental way. No, Elena, I don't hate you. I don't feel anything about you at all anymore, and that's probably worse. I hung up and walked through my empty house, turning off lights and checking locks. Tomorrow, I'd call my lawyer and start the divorce proceedings. In 6 months, Elena would be officially out of my life forever. Lucy came home that night from her mother's latest drama and found me reading in the living room. Mom told me what you offered her, she said, standing in the doorway like she wasn't sure whether to come in or run away. And, she said, you were being generous, that you didn't have to help her at all. She's right, I didn't. Lucy sat down on the couch across from me, looking older than her 17 years. Dad, can I ask you something? Shoot. Were you ever happy? With Mom, I mean, before everything went wrong? The question caught me off guard. When was the last time Elena and I had been truly happy together? Not just content, not just going through the motions, but actually happy? Yeah, I said finally. We were happy once, a long time ago. What happened? People change, sweetheart. Sometimes they grow together, and sometimes they grow apart. Your mother and I grew apart. Is that why she? Lucy trailed off, but I knew what she was asking. Is that why she cheated? I don't know. You'd have to ask her. Lucy nodded and stared at her hands for a moment. I'm sorry I blamed you for everything, she said quietly. Mom told me some stuff tonight, about Derek and the others. I didn't know. She didn't want you to know. She was trying to protect you. Or herself. Smart kid. Too smart for her own good, just like her brother. Dad, are you going to be okay? After the divorce, I mean. I closed my book and really looked at my daughter. She had Elena's dark hair, but my eyes, gray-green and serious. In a few months, she'd graduate high school and head off to college, leaving me alone in this big house, with nothing but memories and mortgage payments. Yeah, I said, and realized I meant it. I'm going to be fine. Good. You deserve to be happy. After Lucy went to bed, I sat in the dark living room and thought about happiness. For months, I'd been so focused on Elena's betrayal that I'd forgotten what it felt like to want something for myself. I'd been so busy being the wronged husband that I'd lost track of who I was underneath all that pain and anger. But the anger was gone now, burned away by weeks of careful revenge and cold satisfaction. Elena was out of my life. Her boyfriends were paying for their choices, and I was free to figure out what came next. For the first time in months, the future felt like something worth looking forward to. The divorce was finalized on a rainy Thursday in March. Elena didn't contest anything: the house, the retirement accounts, even custody arrangements for Lucy's final months of high school. She just wanted it over with, and so did I. We met at the courthouse to sign the final papers. Elena looked thin and tired, like someone who'd been sick for a long time and was just starting to recover. She was living in the apartment I'd paid for and working part-time at a marketing firm across town. A significant step down from her previous job, but honest work. Thank you, she said as we left the courthouse. For the apartment, for not fighting me on everything. I know I don't deserve your kindness. You're the mother of my children, I said simply. That still means something. She nodded and walked away, disappearing into the crowd of people hurrying through the rain. I watched her go and felt nothing but relief. That night, I took Lucy out to dinner to celebrate her acceptance to State University. She was planning to study journalism, which seemed fitting for someone who'd learned to dig for the truth in her own family. So what are you going to do now? She asked over dessert. I mean, after I leave for college. You'll have that whole house to yourself. I'm thinking about selling it, I said. Getting something smaller, maybe closer to downtown. That makes sense. Too many memories in the old place. Some good memories too, I reminded her. You and Max grew up there. I don't regret all of it. Lucy smiled, the first real smile I'd seen from her in months. Dad, I'm proud of you for how you handled everything. It couldn't have been easy. No, it wasn't. But it's over now. And you're okay? I thought about the question seriously. Was I okay? I was 45, divorced, and starting over from scratch. My kids were grown and moving on with their lives. I had a house full of memories I wasn't sure I wanted to keep, and a future I hadn't begun to plan. But I was free. Free from Elena's lies. Free from the constant tension of a failing marriage. Free from pretending everything was fine when it clearly wasn't. Yeah, I said, and meant it. I'm okay. 6 months later, I sold the house to a young couple with 2 small children and big dreams about building their perfect life. I hope they have better luck than Elena and I did. I bought a condo downtown, close to the river and far from the suburbs, where I'd spent 22 years playing house with someone who'd never really wanted to be there. The condo is smaller, cleaner, and entirely mine. No shared spaces, no compromises, no one else's mess to clean up. Lucy started college in the fall and loves it. Max is in his senior year and already talking about graduate school. Both kids visit regularly, and we're closer now than we were when I was married to their mother. Divorce, it turns out, can be good for family relationships when it removes the source of constant tension. Elena got back on her feet eventually. She's dating someone new, a divorced accountant who seems nice enough and doesn't have a social media presence full of motivational quotes. I hope it works out for her. I really do. As for Derek and the others, they all landed on their feet eventually. Derek moved to Florida and got his real estate license reinstated. Marcus found work with a private firm in Chicago. Brad survived his audit and learned to report all his income. Tom found a new job at a restaurant across town. I don't take any satisfaction in their recovery. My revenge was never about destroying them permanently. It was about making them face consequences for their choices. They faced them, learned from them, and moved on. That's how it should work. People ask me if I'm dating anyone, if I'm looking for someone new to share my life with. The answer is no, not yet. I'm still learning how to be alone without being lonely, how to fill my days with things that matter to me, instead of things that matter to someone else. Maybe someday I'll want to share this new life with someone. But for now, I'm content to be the author of my own story, instead of a supporting character in someone else's drama. Elena spent months treating our marriage like a part-time job, while she auditioned replacements. She thought I was weak, passive, someone who'd accept whatever scraps of affection she threw my way. She was wrong. I'm not the same man who fixed leaky dishwashers at midnight while his wife planned her escape upstairs. I'm not the shell of a man she described to Derek on that phone call that started everything. I'm someone new, someone stronger, someone who learned that sometimes the best revenge isn't destruction. It's building a better life and walking away from the people who tried to tear you down. Elena wanted a new beginning. In